What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Phase 6, your source for music, business, motivation, and support. And today I got a really good topic. You know, it's not very often I get to jump into the concept of politics, but today we got to bring it up. Did Donald Trump and Kanye West just mess up the music industry? What are they doing? What is happening right now? There's been a whole lot of crazy feeds I've been seeing on Instagram with people saying, oh man, Kanye West finally did something right. And then I'm seeing a whole bunch of other people saying, yo, Donald Trump just effed up the game. And I don't think everybody knows what's going on. So this is something that's going to affect every person in music, whether you're a writer, a producer, an engineer, an artist, an executive, a manager, a label owner. Anyone in the music business needs to listen to this video right now and understand what just happened in our legal system and how it's getting ready to impact you. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Phase 6. All right, so let's just start here. Let's start here. Let's just put it out there. Okay, so Kanye West went and met with the president, Donald Trump, and he had his own, spiel and his own rant that I'm pretty sure there's 1,000,001 videos talking about, and that's not what we're here to talk about today. It's really not my thing. What I want to talk about is how that meeting is being perceived and what's really going on. So shortly after that meeting, Donald Trump came back and did a press conference where he announced the pass of the MMA, which is the Music Modernization Act. Now, when this came out, he did this whole spiel about music and how he's proud to present it, blah, blah, blah. Let's show a short clip real quick so people know what's going on.
President Donald Trump today moved the music industry into the 21st century. He signed the Music Modernization Act, legalizing the landmark copyright reform for songwriters. The goal is to ensure songwriters receive pay for the products that they produce when you're listening to them on streaming services. Tennessee Senator Lamar Alexander championed that new law. He says the Music Modernization Act is the most important law in a generation to help make sure that our songwriters and singers all over America can keep working and making a decent living by ensuring they're paid when their songs are played.
Okay, immediately after this, I saw a lot of people saying Kanye West finally did something right. Y'all sitting there criticizing Kanye West. He made it happen. Let's go back. First off, let me let you guys know what the Music Modernization Act is, how long is this thing has been in effect, how long people have been fighting for it, and how it's going to affect you. So let's do it in that order. First off, this thing started back in 2014. Back in 2014, music publishers, music songwriters, started getting together saying, hey, streaming is unfair. I did other videos on this on the channel where I talked about streaming and how this company pays this and this company pays that and YouTube barely pays you anything and all these other type of things. And everyone asks, why is it like that? Why isn't it just one rate? And this is a question that has been asked for a long time at this point, for years. 2014, this was brought up in a legal setting, which means prior to that, a whole lot of people had to get together and form a group and figure out how they were going to bring this to Congress and how they were going to get the message out there and how they were going to enact change, if you will, on behalf of all the people that had the exact same question: how do I get paid? So back in 2014, this conversation started. As we all know, streaming revolutionized how people in the music industry get paid. And now we have to figure out who governs that. Who gets the right to set the prices? Now, in my opinion, the people that create the work should have some say-so in what their work is sold for. And that's basically what songwriters and publishers and such were fighting for. On the flip end, I'm not going to go through all the logistics of what happened during the fight between 2014 and now, but what I will say is that there's been a lot of changes and revisions, okay? So what does this mean for you today? Let's talk about it. So first off, not only songwriters and writers are not only songwriters and rights owners or publishers are in the conversation anymore. Now DSPs are in the conversation. The DSP is the legal name for a digital service provider. A digital service provider is going to be someone like Spotify, Apple Music, etc., etc. YouTube is somehow getting tangled up into this definition as well. A lot of other people that provide various different streaming sources that are associated with music. Now, people that are in radio historically, like SiriusXM and other internet online radio providers like Pandora, in the past were excluded from this conversation. They had their own sweetheart deal if you would say, in which they were able to basically subsidize music rates. So now what does that mean? For anyone that doesn't understand that language, basically it means that if you were a radio station and not a streaming provider or not a place to do digital downloads, then you got a discounted rate for paying out royalties. So if someone else had to pay $1, this isn't the actual rate, but theoretically gives you the concept. If this person had to pay $1 to use the song, you might only have to pay 20 cents because you have a different title in reference to what your business does. However, both of you, from a songwriter standpoint, do the same thing. You both are making our music available for the ability to sell ads or sell subscriptions or sell something that makes money off of us. Why aren't you both paying the same rate? That was the question that was being asked. Well, they are now being looped into the new conversation under MMA. The whole concept of music modernization is saying whatever laws we had in the past are old, they're outdated. It's time to modernize or, refreshing or, remix the way that we're looking at music or the business behind the music today. So what are some of the things that you guys are winning? When I say you guys, I mean anyone that's a songwriter, anyone that is a rights holder or rights owner, which means you buy music from someone else, which probably means you might be a publisher. Anyone that is a publisher typically is in the business of buying other people's music and then selling it for trade. As a rights holder, it could have just been passed down to you as as inheritance or something like that. But songwriters, rights holders, publishers, these guys are heavily affected. If you're a record label and you have any rights in publishing, you're affected. If you're a manager and you're getting paid from publishing of the artist in any way, you're affected. Everybody's affected by these changes because all of your money is getting ready to go up. All of you guys are getting ready to get essentially paid more money, but how is it going to work? Well, first off, what this thing does is it brings forth a new governing body. That governing body is a board of people, 10 different music publishers, elite individuals that have not been selected yet, that are supposedly going to know so much about the music business from a publishing standpoint, the ins and outs, that they can sit on this board and vote on our behalf, right? It's also going to include 4 songwriters, and these songwriters are going to be songwriters that own all their publishing, understand the business in-depthly, have been in the game for a long time, and can speak for all the songwriters that are in the game. Then there's going to be 3 advisors on the board, people that don't have the right to vote, but their opinion is highly favored and highly sought after. They're going to have less responsibilities, but they are going to be able to advise. So there's 17 people sitting on this board that will make the decisions governing how royalties will work going forward. The music industry right now is trying to figure out who those entities are going to be. So a lot of you guys will say, well, why don't we get to vote on it? We want to understand this, we want to understand that. I mean, maybe there'll be a time period where we'll be involved in that process, but right now, recognize this. The people that are going to be in these roles are going to be people that do what you do and are incentivized and make money the same way that you make money, and so they're working in your best interest because they're trying to get paid just like you're trying to get paid. Feel me? On to the next. Payments are going to come faster. Yes. Payments are going to come faster. What do I mean by that? Well, traditionally there was, a physical paper process of batch processing, the way that records were processed in the system. And I can go in depth, but it might be a little boring, so let's not. What's getting ready to change now is an NOI. We're getting ready to have a bulk notice of intention, an electronic method of basically recording and tracking and sending messages back and forth, which means historically, I've said in previous videos that sometimes royalty checks take forever to get because legally there had to be very physical processes involved in how, money was maneuvered. I'm not sure why these laws were enacted that forced people to do it this way. Obviously there was a time period where, it wasn't recorded on paper physically, and so laws had to be put in place to make sure that these things were tracked adequately. But now that we're in a digital age, there should be a better way to do this. And that's, bringing in electronic methodologies. Now, there's been a lot of talk about blockchain and all sorts of different technologies that can be used to effectively do this really quickly. We're not sure which one this governing body or board is going to go with. It may be something basic or simple, like a giant file server, similar to how your Gmail or your Google Drive works, where all the data is kind of in there, people can search through it and pull it, or it may just be like a SQL-based database, which is kind of like an Excel sheet with everyone's information in there. We're not sure what they're going to do, what technology they're going to fit. There's a lot of people that are competing, creating technology in preparation for this, because since 2014, organizations knew that this was likely going to pass, and they've been creating solutions just for this. So that board is going to pick which one is going to happen, but the result for us is that you're going to get your checks faster. You're going to get your money in the mail faster, which is the bonus for you. Another highlight, which I feel like I kind of stated already, but all your data is going to be in one place, right? That's something that's been thought about. So, I just mentioned there's been a lot of people developing different things to put all of your data in one place, which, if you think about it right now, everyone has their own way of tracking. Spotify has their own system of tracking how you get paid and how many plays you get. Tidal has their own. Deezer, all the different providers doing their own thing, making their own rules, setting their own tone. And now there's going to be one database, one check and balance. And the beauty of this, the way that they were able to help this bill pass is they brought the DSPs in, people like Spotify and Tidal and whatever. I don't know who was in the meeting, but streaming providers, Apple Music, whatever, they were in the meeting and got the opportunity to say, hey, we want to be involved in this process, but if we're going to be involved, you're going to be changing our rates and you're going to be affecting the way we do business. We want to put our own provisions in there as well. And one of those provisions was they wanted to stop all the lawsuits that they were getting from not collecting royalties the correct way. Things were happening in which basically, artists or labels or whoever were auditing the streaming companies and saying, hey, according to our data, you actually underpaid us for this or didn't pay us well for that. And Spotify make their argument on how their system works and why it's inaccurate, this and the third. You go through this whole process and you end up settling in or out of court because, the legal process is too expensive, or you end up losing, you have to pay all this money. And basically, these streaming companies are at war all the time, battling all these different artists and publishers over, streaming and how much they're supposed to be paying out. So what they basically said is, hey, we're going to put all this in one database, and if we put all our data in one database and you guys approve this database and anything goes wrong, you can't sue us because this is your system. We're tired of you guys suing us. We thought our system worked. You guys want your own system. We're cool with that, but make sure you're liable for the decisions that you make within your system. And we're going to pay you what you said happened versus just what we said happened. One general database. That's the figurative concept going into this. Now, of course, as the board gets together, it's going to get more elaborate. Things are going to get fine-tuned and changed and audited and edited, but that's the basic concept. Another big bonus of this whole thing is that the community is going to have control over overages and things that are left out. Not necessarily overages, but how would I put this? For all you guys that don't watch my videos and don't register your music correctly and haven't gotten all your information set up, there are checks waiting for you. In the past, the DSPs got the right to decide what happens to your check. If they want to give it to someone else, if they want to put it in their pocket, they can do whatever. You didn't register your record. They don't know who it is. They're not about to chase you down. They're just going to pocket the money. Now, that's going to sit in a pool that the board is going to discern, what pool that sits in and how that money is distributed to whoever gets distributed to. The same thing happens with PROs like ASCAP, CSAC, DMI, all these guys. What they typically do is if it sits after 3 years or 5 years or how many years it is, they just break it out and spread it evenly amongst, their audience or amongst a certain percentage of their audience, etc., etc. By audience, I mean the people that are members of their PRO, right? We don't know how the board is going to decide this is going to happen, but, rest assured it's better to have that decision in the hands of people that are on your side of the coin than people that are on the other side of the coin that may not care as much about your personal investment and interest in the bread. And lastly, the fair pay for fair play or fair play for fair pay. It's one of those two. Either way, this law is something that music people fought for forever. So what does it mean? What does it include? First thing, it modernizes everything. So when I say modernizes everything, I mean there are laws that are in play that basically say that if your music was created before 1995, there are certain provisions on the digital side that you're not able to get because your music wasn't out in the digital era. So you're not getting paid the same rates as other people because your music came out on CD or cassette or something of that nature before, the transition, right? That's one thing that's being abolished pretty much under fair pay for fair play. Everyone's going to be taken care of. Also, there were some loopholes that if your music was created before 1972, there was a lot of other ways that, you didn't have to get paid for, certain records that were pushed out there. All those loopholes are being closed out at the same time. Then, the big thing that everybody's waiting for is that all streaming companies are going to have to pay one rate. This board is going to decide what that number is going to be and who's going to have to pay it. This is something that's going to shock everyone or impact everyone, you know, from Pandora to XM Radio to YouTube to Spotify to everybody that's involved in the music business that is generating revenue is going to have to come back and pay one rate that's going to be discerned or created by this board. Now, the board may decide to do special rates or something of that nature. I'm not sure. The board may also, to preserve the integrity of larger companies, decide that we're going to give these companies a certain amount of time to get themselves ready to be in compliance, and instead of just, you know, slapping the new rate on them overnight and potentially bankrupting a large company, or, you know, dramatically affecting them to the point where they push that pain back down on us as songwriters and producers. And I'm not even a songwriter, but I'm speaking from your perspective if you're in that group, right? All right. Next, the next aspect that you should be aware of, and I made some critical changes, you know, throughout this whole process. It got real personal for me, so I'm gonna let you guys know my view on this. Sirius Radio, okay, was one of the biggest people campaigning, or organizations campaigning for decreasing the money that songwriters get for what they do. Okay, they're the ones that help get the sweetheart deal for all digital radio internet providers to basically say we don't have to pay the same rate that everybody else has to pay. And what has been the result? I'll tell you the result. In 2017, I believe, or I'm not sure what the exact year was. I think it was 17. But right now, Sirius Radio makes about $5 billion annually off of about 32 million subscribers that subscribe to their service. $5 billion every single year. In 2017, the whole music industry, you know, record labels, publishers, singers, songwriters, all these guys, they only made $5.9 billion as a whole. One company made $5 billion off of the music that all these other individuals made, and they only made $5.9 billion. So think about how big this rape is right here. You know, Pandora is, you know, not Pandora, but XM Radio has been actively taking advantage of musicians for a very long time. There's other organizations that have done the same thing. Well, Pandora has been accused of this. YouTube has been accused of this. Pretty much all the internet online radio stations have been accused of this. And it's something that's been hurting everybody. Your music is everywhere, but you're not getting paid. And this is something that's going to change the game. Also, this bill allows you to do LOD, which is letters of direction, which means if you want to get your producers paid, you want to get your producers and engineers paid, you want to do kickbacks, you can do that as well under this new setup. Everything's going to be electronic and a lot easier to use. These are some exciting times. You know, me personally, going back to Sirius, you know, because it was personal. I mean, I had stock with these guys. I sold all my stock with these guys just out of principle. Like, come on, guys. Come on, man. Y'all making all this money, and at the end of the bill, at the very end, at the last minute, Sirius made a ditch effort to try to lobby to change and reverse the bill right at the very end, and just suck the heart out of everything that we've been doing over the years. And so, even though I love a lot of the different, you know, participants involved with Sirius, I love, you know, all the different shows on there, and I probably will still listen to it. But you know, come on, man. Anyway. So did Kanye have anything to do with this situation? Most likely, no. This thing was unanimously voted by 441 congressmen or senators or whatever the title was prior to that meeting that Kanye West and Trump even had. Did Trump have anything to do with this? No. This is something that's been worked on since 2014. It had nothing to do with any of those individuals. What it had, the people that should be congratulated are all those publishers and songwriters and organizations and academies on the back end that put all the work in to bring this up and bring this into fruition. And we thank you guys on behalf of the music community for making this happen. But for anyone that didn't know what the Music Modernization Act was previously, now you know. I don't know everything, but I know a lot about a little and a little bit about a lot. My name is Sir Love. I'm trying to give you guys everything that I got. Thank you for being a part of Phase 6. Like, subscribe, go to the YouTube channel, or you're on the YouTube channel. Go to the website. A lot of exciting things are on the website. Check out some of the things that we've released and put out there on publishing so you can learn a little bit more about publishing, how to protect yourself, how to get your bread, how to win in this business, how to win in this game and get paid. All right? I'm out.